Hello and welcome to the GMBN Tech Show.
Greetings, and we've got exciting things from Hope, Renthal and Privateer.
Yep, and as Vittoria release a brand new airliner, we discuss whether tyre liners are a good thing or a bad thing. So tyre liners or tyre inserts, whatever you want to call them, have been going for some years now, and there's still some controversy, easy for you to say, about whether these are a good idea or a bad idea. We're still debating them. In fact, Neil was at a World Cup recently and he was told, if you're running a tyre insert, you're clearly not setting up your bike properly. I mean, that's controversial, isn't it?
It is. I think that the downhill racer market, I mean, lots of these products are sort of designed for enduro and trail riding and cross country, but I think the downhill application is where you can see the biggest benefits, but there's still a lot of downhill racers that are still kind of on the fence. But I think some of that sort of is because of certain tyre combinations, but also I think it's just learning to set them up, and they might not have spent the time. But yeah, there's lots of pros and cons for them.
Yeah. Sponsors obviously might play a part, and riding style as well.
Of course, yeah.
And then I'm not an 80 plus kilo professional downhill rider, so does it apply to me? Obviously, tyre liners were brought out to sort of minimise punctures, because obviously this is now certainly pinch flat punctures, because this is now a little extra barrier over the rim so that you can hit a rock, for example, and you won't get a pinch flat. And if you do get a puncture, you can potentially run to the end as well of the trail on a sort of run flat liner like this. So that was the sort of big reason, wasn't it? Yeah,
big reason. I think there was other conversations about how you could hold beads in place with some of the earlier iterations of these sort of systems, where I think that has been sort of like watered down a lot. And I think the benefits of the pinch flat protection, a little bit more rim protection, so it's not just protecting, because like with tough tyres, it's harder, not impossible, harder to get a pinch flat. I think the early systems were really bulky, so that you could run them flat definitely, and they worked with huge tyres and small tyres in equal measure. I think a lot of the really early iterations, whether it be the sort of like turbo trainer tyre inside with the tube setups, which are
it was like a tyre in a tyre.
Yeah, or some of the kind of like bigger, harder foam systems. I think a lot of what the sort of negatives that racers felt was about the kind of pressure. So there is a damping change, but I think a lot of brands have leapt on that and gone, aha, we can tune it. So you can actually get like a positive characteristic of being able to tune how linear your tyre feels versus just relying on the casing and air pressure alone. So
well, for example, Vittoria have just brought out an enduro and a downhill version of this liner, and there's a high density foam and a sort of a lighter density foam, so you've already got that sort of choice. And there are downhill racers out there that are citing this as a good thing, that their tyres now have a slightly progressive feel. Much like suspension, we're putting volume spacers in forks, and we're also putting these as almost like volume spacers as well in our tyres. Stop your tyres bottoming out, to stop you breaking rims potentially, maybe finishing a race run, or maybe, just saving you some money by not having to replace the wheel. Finn Isle said that he's rarely smashing rims anymore thanks to tyre liners. I wonder if there's been any racers out there that probably would have finished a run if they had been running one.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the pros for me are there. Some of the downhill racers haven't quite got there maybe, but I wonder what some of the reasons why they're not engaging into it. So I guess it's good we've said all the pros about it. What are the cons of a system like this? Like, there's got to be some why downhill racers are resistant to the change.
It's funny because on one hand you hear people like Loic Bruni and Richie Rude praising liners because they can go harder into corners and not worry about tyres rolling off. And then on the other hand, you have some racers who are blaming tyre liners for pulling the tyres completely off the bead. So it's very opposing. But of course, no rim, no liner is the same, is it?
Yeah, there's so much. I mean, we've got the ETRTO, which is like a standard. Mountain bike standards are always kind of slightly vague in terms of someone brings out something else new for a marginal gain. But there is this ETRTO standard of what tyre size is, literally what size it will be on a certain rim size, and, guidance on what the internal rim width will be. But there is manufacturing variance of within all these different tyres. So, you'll know from trying to fit a tyre, sometimes you've got certain combinations of rim and tyre where they're really tight, even though there is this standard. So I think add in that with an insert that's quite stiff, and when you want to sort of squeeze that bead off the rim edge, you're pushing against an insert, and it can be quite tricky. There are ways around it in terms of technique, but if you're, I don't know, an enduro racer and you're midway through a run and you know you've got to put a tube in and you're faffing and getting really annoyed with this insert, I can see why, well, it might have saved them.
It might have
multiple
saved the
punctures
run.
earlier on,
Yeah.
but now they're angry and they can't change it. So I think there is some resistance to that.
Yeah, and the normal Joe blogs wanting to fix their own puncture or even just install them is definitely looking at this as a potential extra faff that they might not want. They might need extra sealant, that sort of thing. Some tyre liners aren't even compatible with some sealants, so Vittoria won't work with ammonia-based, for example. You might need extra sealant because there's now more surface area. I can see why people might think these are disadvantages. Well, they might be, but I would say that not all of them are the same.
Agreed, yeah. And
Not
I think
all liners are the same.
I think there's lots of techniques that you can learn quite easy. So if you approach it, I guess it's like the transition between tubes and tubeless, and there's still some holdouts that tubes are the best.
That is very true.
I'm not saying that tubes don't have their place. You know, I'm not a complete, I'm trying to think, anti-tubes. They do have a place. They are kind of handy. But tubeless is, for me, the better option. So I'm sure that'll get the keyboard warriors fighting. But much like that, I think there's some techniques and tips and tricks that you can use with inserts that make it a lot easier, and you still have that safety net of having less flats.
Yeah, and the sort of transparency of compatibility is really difficult at the moment because these are quite new. They're changing constantly. There are companies out there like DT Swiss, for example, saying that you can use inserts in their wheels, but they're not actively saying that they should be because they're only optimized for working with tyres. They can't go out there and test every single insert every time a new one comes out and say that that combination with any kind of other tyre is optimized, shall we say.
Yeah, optimized.
So it's a tough world out there. Envy also saying, we're confident that our rims and tyres design do not necessitate, it's a tough word that, the use of tyre liners or inserts, and therefore we generally don't recommend them. But they do have their own kind of proprietary standard, don't they?
Yeah, they do, because they've got their own kind of like rim strip. I think what's interesting for me is that I think a lot of brands are kind of like, well, if you've got it set up correctly, and like some downhill racers, looping back to that initial comment that Neil heard, yes, if you've got your bike optimised, you've got the pressure set exactly as you need, then no, you probably don't need it. But it's like a kind of insurance for protection of your tyre, protection of your rim. And the cost of that is much cheaper than a rim and a tyre. So if you're a marginal gains racer, yeah, there might be some drawbacks of weight. But if you're like a regular rider who's riding lots on the weekend and doesn't want the faff of whacking a rim and destroying a tyre, I just think inserts for the win.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to finalise on. And maybe ask the viewers, what do you think, guys? You are out there actually riding. Let us know whether you use a tyre liner or not, and what do you think of them? So Privateer have released Gen 2 on their range of bikes. So that's a total refresh of their 141 and their 161. So the 141 is 141 millimeters of suspension in the rear and a 150 fork up front. And the 161 is, you guessed it, 161 millimeters in the rear. And you can have the option of overstroking the new one to give it a 174 millimeters in the rear and even pop a dual crown fork on the front. The updates include some geometry refreshes. It's now available with the 29er or mixed wheels, and you have a flip chip in there that can give you the ability to run either. It also allows you to adjust the rear center. They're providing a new suspension link called the ALP, which is promising more sensitivity, plus some oversized linkages as well for durability. And they're coming with some size-specific chainstays, so check out those new two bikes.
Nice, very nice. Size-specific chainstays, very good. Some exciting new pedals from Renthal. These are actually really interesting. So Renthal, who make bars, stems and grips, have decided to move into more contact points. So we've got lots of nice features on these pedals. I'll stick them there and actually look at the features. So we've got 3 bearings on the outboard, a large bushing on the inside, really sort of relatively low platform, interesting dual concave shape. So not just sort of concave in one plane, but both. Lots of adjustability on pins, which is really impressive actually. So it comes with, I think, 3 different lengths of pin, and then you can space them out. So you've got 4 options of pin height. And yeah, coming in this wonderful sort of classic, as they're dubbing it, Renthal Gold.
Well, I've dubbed it Renthal Gold.
Right,
I don't
sorry.
know. It's more like a champagne, isn't it? I don't know.
No, yes. Yeah, well, champagne, which you'll probably win because flat pedals win medals. All for $159.95 or £154.95 or €179. Yeah, lots of nice options. They're very good.
Nice. Giro have released a new helmet as well. It's in the lightweight full face category. It's got a massive amount of vents, mostly in the front, keeping it nice and cool. It's apparently weighs 787 grams, but it is still DH or downhill certified, and that would be $325.
Exciting news from Hope. Lots of exciting products, but probably the headline feature is some new carbon cranks. So carbon and Hope may not go hand in hand, but they've been making carbon products for a while up in their UK office. So their bike is made up there. I think some of their bars and seat posts are made up there too. But yeah, these new cranks are really exciting, very innovative construction. So it's got some smaller aluminium inserts, which is not uncommon in carbon. What's relatively new is an expanding foam in the centre section. So that's designed to tune the damping property of it, to tune out the chatter, I guess. Yeah, so opposed to making it super stiff like some cranks can be. All the modern sizes, so from 155 to 165 to 170, so they're definitely modern. A couple of different Q factors, and yeah, made in the UK, Hope, amazing carbon. So all of those things, as you may not be too surprised, do come at a cost. So 550 UK pounds, €690, and $695. So that's probably the headline. Very exciting, but maybe not that many people will get. But yeah,
did you notice the axles are interchangeable as well, and you can replace the pedal threads if you ever damage them as well, which I think is really
very clever,
innovative.
Especially a carbon one.
Other news from Hope is that they're releasing a new colour. The 1st of March, keep an eye out. They will be dropping pretty much all their components in bronze now. They've also got a new stem called the TR stem, which is replacing their old AR stem. It is aimed at down country, so it is stiffer and lighter. It's a 2-piece, no gap, 0 rise to suit 31.8 or 35mm bars, so keep an eye out for that. That'll be coming in at £105. Or check out their press fit bottom bracket for a 41mm diameter bottom bracket shell that now allows you to use 30mm spindle cranks as well, which is quite a rare combination out there. So if you want that sort of combo, check out Hope.
And as if by magic, there we go. There is a new airliner from Vittoria. So this is a very, very new and exciting iteration. It's new shape and there's different densities, whereas previously they did different sizes. This one's pretty much the same size, different shape, not dissimilar to their XC Superlight. I think their Superlight XC one weighs about 30 grams. This one's equally as light, not quite as light, but you've got different foam stiffness. This one's the downhill, I think, and then this one, conveniently, is the Enduro. Yeah, they're now bonded together, so you don't have to zip tie them together, which is a nice feature. And yeah, coming in at about £60 or €60. So yeah, good option for another insert option.
Excellent. And exciting news, you will be seeing, actually, have you already seen our new partner on the channel?
Potentially, maybe just this weekend. Did you watch it?
Yeah, were you watching this guy? Because he was putting together my bike, actually. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
A new Propane. So Propane is our newest partner on the channel. So if you love Propane, if you have a Propane, then let us know down in the comments below and give them some love. Okay, it's quiz time, and last week we asked what year were pivot cycles founded? Much sooner than you would have expected, I thought.
It was mid-90s.
It was 2007, and bonus points, because I thought it was a difficult question, if you could name their first models, and it was...
I have to look at the answers.
Yeah, it's the Mach 4 and the Mach 5 were their first models. Congratulations to all of you guys on the screen right now who got that right. So my next question is Aaron Gwynn. If you've been watching the news closely, you'll see that he's just bought a 1/3 share in a bicycle company.
Ooh.
Clue, he is racing for them as well this year. So who is it? Okay, Owen, it is bike cave time. We get to snoop around someone's bike cave.
Excellent.
And this is a very full bike cave sent in from Graham Foot in Gloucester.
I know Graham.
We
He's very
both
good.
know Graham,
Oh,
actually.
there we go.
How do you know Graham?
I know from going to see his bike shop.
Yeah.
And chatting to him about elevated chainstay bikes and fat bikes and how like plus tyres are really good.
Oh yes, he was really into that. So
Still
I
is.
know him
Yeah,
because he was the UK distributor for Dartmoor, like a really Polish brand. It was really affordable.
Yeah.
We used to buy them for four-cross bikes.
You raced four-cross as well?
Well, I gave it a go a couple of times, but I was rubbish
there you
at
go.
it. But anyway, Graham, this bike cave says it holds so many memories for him. You talked about his bike shop. He actually started his bike shop in this workshop.
Oh, wow.
He learned how to build wheels in here. He used to fix up kids' bikes until he got his bike shop actually sorted. He started up a mountain bike club from here. He drew up plans for a bike park that had Greg Minnaar, PT Warner and Lopez turn up to.
Nice, good work.
And now you talked about elevated chainstays. I'm pretty sure, I can tell from the photos, that he's starting up a new bike company as well from this bike cave, which has elevated chainstays.
Well, Smokestone has been around for a little while because it's his.
Oh, okay.
I want to say 5 years. Correct us, please, Graham. I know you're always in the comments, so that's great. Really early adopter on elevated chainstays back in the 90s. They were a big thing of getting nice short chainstays and lots of mud clearance, which was an issue when we had front derailleurs. And now he's into the bigger size tyres, which is where Smokestone have come back in.
Yeah.
So fascinating stuff.
Nice work, Graham. It's good to see your bike cave and good to know that you can start really big things from humble beginnings.
Indeed. Comments time, always good. We've got lots of comments on our last episode where we were talking about standards not being standards. A lack of standards in standards, what fun. I can hear the late, great Michael Bonney, who was a really important person at Orange Bikes, in my ear. Hashtag ride for MB. Standards are extremely important in any industry. They allow for the growth through ongoing support for the past, present and future designs. That's really true, and I think we sort of touched on it a little bit in the fact that automotive industry keeps something as a standard for a while, and unfortunately the cycle industry, we're not quite doing that, so it's a bit frustrating.
Feedback Zaloop said, in no industry there are universal standards, but on a more related note, there is no standard bike rider. That's a really good point. So why should components be that?
Yeah, no, very good. JP The Rock J2164, great name, we love that one. I think some of the new standards are great because they eliminate having several different standards. Look what SRAM did last year. I think it was a couple of years ago before then, but every bike can be bought with UDH, that's true.
New standard, really good standard, in my opinion.
It was. I mean, it was the sort of a slight backdoor to create a new type of rear mech. But you know what? Unified, like everyone having the same rear mech hanger, great idea.
Mark Peterson said, cycling standards are like herding cats. It is impossible and silly at the same time. Yeah,
unless you've got catnip, in which case it's easy. So
actually, there was a lot. I thought the comments would be very much against standards not being standards and being like, why I order cycling industry. But actually, it was all very positive and people generally understood that it's the industry just trying to make things better. Anyway, so what are we looking forward to this week? I believe on Saturday, are you replacing a free hub body?
I believe so. Looking at the wonderful options, the standards that we have, roughly 3. And then we've got hip pack and backpack features to look out for. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
I love a backpack. I keep trying a hip pack, but it doesn't really work for me.
I think short bodies are not that compatible. Another compatibility issue there. Well, thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to join the debate on airliners, tyre liners, inserts, whatever you want to call them. Do you like them? Let us know down in the comments below.